Hi, I'm Em, and this is Fangfaria. Today we're talking about loving or hating your job. Should I stay or should I go? Probably something we've all asked ourselves as we're coming to the end of a job that we need to move on from. And it's not an easy question to answer. Change is hard, and sometimes it's better the devil we know. And sometimes we're wanting to move jobs because we feel that work is the bad guy or the job is the bad guy. And it's not always the case. Sometimes it can be that work is the easy thing to blame. It's the thing that we do have some semblance of control over, that you can quit and leave, although the fear is always there that you do so and whatever was wrong hasn't changed. And it's easier to look at work than it is necessary to look at the complexities of the whole of the rest of our lives in terms of what's kind of causing stress or anxiety or making things hard. So it's something that I've wrestled with from time to time, because sometimes when you really look at it, the job hasn't changed. You know, that dentistry isn't something that has huge amounts of change in it over time. And most of the jobs I've been in have been reasonably stable. But life tends to change around it, and be that our circumstances, be it getting kind of married, buying houses, getting divorced, having loved ones sick, having loved ones die, having natural disasters or global pandemics, all things that kind of influence not just what's going on in the surgery, but also what's going on in the rest of our lives and what's going on in our patients' lives, which can impact the job too. When I left dentistry and burnt out, I kind of got to the point that I was looking at dentistry and just thinking, I just hate dentistry. I hate being a dentist. I don't want to go back to it. But hate's a strong word. So is love. I've always kind of envied those people that you come across that really do just love the job, love dentistry, exude enthusiasm about all aspects of it. And you can just imagine them kind of skipping to work and singing a jaunty tune. That's not ever been me, and I don't envisage it ever being me, but I've found somewhere in between. I found a way to like my jobs that I do and stay in it for hopefully a full career, although we've got a few more years to go. But yeah, it's this kind of easy to say, oh, I hate it, or the job's the problem. And I guess kind of some of the questions we kind of have to ask ourselves is if we're contemplating leaving a job because the job feels terrible, is looking at things like, am I always justifying staying? Or it'll be right when, or I'll just get to that and I'll just kind of sort this out. And when that person leaves, I'm sure it'll all change. And surely this is the time that bully's going to get pulled up for what's going on, and they're going to get theirs, and the workplace will resume to normal. And those are hard things to be kind of hanging out for, because they're things that you can't necessarily control. And end up using them kind of as a safety net. I just need to get past this because I've got such and such to pay for coming up. I've got my kids' braces or school fees or a wedding or a house or I just need the stability of this job for a little bit longer before I go into the unknown and change. And I had that when I had burnt out. I stayed in the job longer than I should have before I took a break. And that again was, I want to stay in this job because it works with childcare, and I don't want to disrupt my youngest before they go to school, because it's only a short amount of time till they go to school. So maybe I'll hang in this job until they turn 5, and then I'll take a break and we'll kind of look at it. Or actually, maybe I could kind of after that could kind of plan on going back to the UK and having a holiday. So maybe I'll hang on until that, or maybe we'll just hang on through this Christmas period, because then you don't particularly want to be out of work over Christmas and worrying about finances then. And you just end up with this big list of ifs, buts and maybes. And I suppose other identifying points in those times when maybe I should have been considering leaving a job were the kind of the slight ray of sunshine and hope when something would happen that you would think, oh, this is it. This is going to be the turning point that turns things around. And then those points would kind of come and go and everything was still the same. So it's hard to say. Change is hard. And sometimes we're very worried that the next choice could be worse and that we won't know that until we've left the circumstances we're in, which is quite difficult. We're also probably quite conditioned from school and growing up that you can't change your job too often, or you'll be judged for it. You need to be able to kind of show some consistency and loyalty in some places. And I suppose in terms of early career, it's kind of important to be able to kind of see some of your own failures coming back and see some of your own successes coming back, so you can work out what's working and what's not and kind of grow from that point of view. Whereas I did my first 5 years in the Navy, which was great, but and the job was kind of 5 years, but we were continually moving clinics within that time, so you were quite often seeing patients for the first time all the time and didn't necessarily kind of catch up with the same people and see how your dentistry was doing or how those patients were doing with the dentistry you'd kind of chosen or treatment planned for them. So there are reasons to stay, and it will be person to person about whether or not they're things that will keep you in a job. But there's also, if you do have to stay in a job, you don't have the luxury of leaving, or it's not an option to leave at the moment, or you do need to just wait for one of those things to kind of come up, is there's the ability to job craft within your existing job, which might be a new term for some people. It's something that's kind of a positive psychology tool and term, I guess, where there were studies done looking at a job being a calling or a career. So a calling being the idea that it was motivated by purpose and meaning and enjoyment, and a career orientated or focused job being motivated by promotions and advancement and kind of numbers and stats and things like that of various types. And what they kind of came to was that when they looked at career versus calling, so again, kind of I would put into the calling really those people that love their job, is that what they found that they were doing was something called that they've come to call job crafting, which is that they were doing small things within their existing job to modify their work and make it more rewarding and more in line with their values and purpose. So they were getting more enjoyment and fulfillment out of it. So not necessarily changing the job, but just finding ways that they were doing more of what they liked, or their mindset around it was such that they were tolerating what they didn't like as much. And it's, you can take the same kind of lessons from that or the same process if you're looking at trying to craft your own job and look at, creating your ideal job. Or if you were looking for a job, what are the things that are going to matter to you, and what are the things that are going to make the difference between enjoying it or not? Because it's not always what you'd think, because we kind of been pre-programmed to think, oh, well, I'd like this, I'd like nice equipment, I'd like this. There's all sorts of things that would be nice to have, but aren't necessarily your deal breaker between a job you enjoy and a job you're just kind of biding time and looking for the next job, or always restless within. So some of this is linked in with some of the stuff we've already talked about in terms of strength, so the values in action strength, and the other strength inventory, which the name escapes me, but it's one that's more career focused. And in terms of kind of working out what it is that lights you up, what parts of things you enjoy. So I've looked at this, and I think for me within dentistry, why I started dentistry and what I enjoyed about dentistry, certainly up until leaving dental school, was the learning and the science and the progression that way. Yes, the practical side of putting it into action, but not necessarily actually the practical side of the patient interaction. Although I do enjoy some of the social aspect of that. But again, bringing kind of my sense of humour to work and being able to get some social engagement from work are quite important to me. But the first stage of this, and the reason kind of this podcast kind of came about today was, well, one, I've had this title on my list for a long, long time to record about, but the other is there was a post in a social media group that was asking about what to do if you're not enjoying your job. And it turns out there was someone just kind of feeling the water for what was going on out there. Not so much that they were having problems with it, but in true kind of me style, I answered it with a bit of a counselling and a coaching answer. But it's that first step is to be aware, or in some of my other kind of coaching stuff, I call it noticing and naming in terms of what is going on. Why do you feel the way you do about your job? Why is it hard? Why do you not like it, or why do you love it? Kind of both ways. What is new and different here? Because most of us, I would like to think, didn't go into our jobs thinking we were going to hate it or finding things that we didn't like about it, but there's something that's kind of come about for whatever reason over years or over months or even just within a particular job and set of circumstances. And some of Ellen Langer's work on mindfulness that I particularly like is asking the question, what is new and different here? And this is kind of what I had to ask myself with my job, is what has changed? Had the job changed? Had I changed? Had pressures around certain variables or statistics and like performance indicators, I guess, had changed? Had the instruments changed? Had the way of being managed been changed? Had the personnel and things around me been changed? And then working out what was different and starting from there in terms of, well, how do I address that? And as I say, for me, it wasn't so much that work was any different. It was just that I was tolerating work less because there was so much going on that had just been cumulative in my life outside of work. And it's not that my workplace and the conditions in it were ideal for loving one's job, but that I was managing them when I wasn't having to manage a lot of other things outside of work, and that the focus had changed kind of within that. So in terms of if you're someone that isn't enjoying their job, that is wondering whether you're in the right profession, is thinking about a career change, as lots of us are after kind of COVID changes or other big changes in our lives. And I think the first stage is just kind of look at your working day, see what's going on, see what is new and different. Are there things that you can pick out that you're enjoying? So whilst you might be feeling miserable and stressed and want to get out of work as soon as possible, are there actual bits that are your bright spots in the day? Is it certain patients? Is it working with a certain staff member? Is it when you get certain types of procedure in, or when you get to use a certain bit of kit? Is it when you have a meeting and a longer lunch and you get a chance to catch up with the whole team? Is it, there's lots and lots of things it could be. And in terms of how do you mark down kind of what you're noticing, is it kind of journaling? So I mean, journaling's another way of just alleviating feelings of depression and anxiety. It's been proven to kind of help with those things, as reflecting on your day and looking for kind of good points in it. So that could be as much as just making notes through your day, making notes on the back of the day list. It could be writing a journal when you get home or before you go to bed. It could just be picking 3 good things out of the day, and that might be circling 3 appointments on your day list. It might be thinking back to just those points. Well, today I got out for a walk at lunch. Today I caught up with that patient I really like, and just looking for those things. Or today, I couldn't stop myself laughing because the nurse and I were talking about such and such in the break between patients, and that really kind of boosted my morning. And trying to look for the commonalities in that, because the job crafting part of it is finding those things and then trying to make them happen more often, or engineering your day that you can get more of those almost kind of hits of enjoyment or happiness or joy at work, and working out kind of how to do that. I mean, you can also do it from the negative point of view in terms of what about my day went horrendously wrong and don't I like. And I've talked about this before in terms of other stressors, in terms of, are these things you can control and change? Is it something that you can maybe influence? And again, that comes down to, say it's procedures you don't like. Is it just letting reception know that actually these aren't your type of patients, and could they be channeled to the other dentists a little bit more? And what you really like to do is, for me, it's teeth out. It's like, let's, send me all the teeth out. It's just kind of small things like that. Or is it stuff that you can't control, that you've tried influencing or you've tried changing and just isn't changing and is circumstantial? Is that going to be the difference between, is it a job to stick at, or is it somewhere you're just banging your head against a brick wall and just staying or getting more miserable? And really you need to look for a job where you can experience more of the things that you like about work. But it's taking small steps. It's not doing huge, massive things, picking the low-hanging fruit and making something easier. It doesn't have to be starting with something clinical. It doesn't have to be kind of the job part of it. It can be the interactions with your staff. It can be making sure that you actually get out of the practice and get some fresh air at lunchtime. It can be making sure that you've got a lunch that you enjoy and you're actually properly fueled and hydrated throughout the day. All sorts of things. And some of those things are not things that are necessarily just up to you. It can be that kind of being brave and communicating what you're having difficulty with, or communicating when you're stressed out and you don't want these really difficult patients, or when you've had a couple of difficult patients that have turned into awkward complaints over nothing, but you're trying to avoid those red flag patients for the next couple of weeks just to give yourself a breather. Unless you're working on your own, which makes it hard because you're kind of the be all and the stop all. And then I guess you have to just be a bit firmer with your patients in terms of saying, well, I don't think, I'm the dentist for you, or referring on and finding some other kind of course of treatment. And probably just be kind to ourselves. I know I harp on about self-compassion as well, but we don't have to beat ourselves up about this. We don't have to love our job. We don't have to kind of unconditionally think that everything about it is great and not have anything to moan about. Yes, it's a great job. In the main part, it's a well-paid job. There's lots of things that you can almost kind of hear the critics saying, what do you mean you hate your job? I'd give anything for a job that paid that or did that, or you could have those hours or that flexibility or this, that and the other. But it's not, you don't need to compare, and you don't need to listen to the critics from anyone else. This is about you, and you're allowed to be kind to yourself over your thoughts and feelings about it. It's okay to feel that a job isn't working out and leave it early, like taking a Band-Aid off quickly, rather than endure 6 months of misery just so you didn't say that you'd left a job within 3 months. All those kind of stories we've been telling ourselves as to what it means to leave a job quickly, or what it means if you don't feel that you're enjoying it or carrying on with it. I'd say I'm continually amazed by my colleagues that when I go to conferences or courses or things like that, it's great to see that there are people out that really are finding this a calling and really are enjoying it, and good on them. It's something I strive for. But it's inspirational and motivational, and there's no reason we can't lean into somebody else's enthusiasm and motivation for a job and let it drag us along a little bit and join and bring us up. But in terms of kind of the job crafting side of things, it's kind of the why of work, why at work. I went on a course here, it was an employment course ages ago, and they said that something that was unusual about New Zealand versus kind of other countries that they'd done this study in is that one of the top reasons that New Zealanders go to work is to catch up with their mates, is to be social. So it's not always about the money, and it's not always about the job as such. And sometimes we forget that when we think about trying to motivate staff. Kind of those other things are nice, but it might not be their primary reason for being there. It may be that that work is fulfilling other needs for them. And again, it's kind of looking at ourselves and going, well, what needs is work fulfilling for me, that if I wasn't here or doing something different, would I miss? And there's a couple of categories that you can kind of look at that in. It's like, what are my most rewarding interactions at work? Is it staff? Is it patients? What do I like and don't I like? As we've kind of talked about before, highlighting the things that energize you and build you up and get you psyched about stuff, versus those that just fill you with dread, and you read it on the day sheet and your face drops and your heart rate increases. And kind of identifying kind of what those are, and how do we get more of these things, more of those rewarding interactions, more of the things I like, and avoiding more of the things I don't like. I always think back to a job where I can remember that we got told off, and I'm a talker, so it's not overly surprising, but we get told off for wasting time talking in the steri, or talking, kind of too much talking with patients and holding nurses back from steri or setup, or talking too long on a reception. But I'm someone that is fueled by the social interaction of work. I don't want to just come and do dentistry and it all be about, using every second of the day to be as productive as possible, and kind of robot style, just dial into the actual jobs, and how dare I distract anyone else from theirs. That's a huge part of me. My day is kind of catching up and finding out where my team is at, is being able to talk to my nurse between appointments about, all sorts of things, being able to have patients that you can have conversations with and chat across, and actually kind of be more of a social experience. And that's, it's different for everyone. Some people, that's like the most irritating thing ever. They just, no small talk. Let's just get on with it. You're driving me nuts, and I'm here to do a job. So you will find that it's different courses for horses, as it were. It is individual. And when do I do my best work? Am I a morning person? Is it that first appointment? Is it the one after morning tea? And I guess conversely, when's my worst work? When's it's been shown that our decision-making skills get worse as the day go on, get boosted a bit by eating and after lunch, but probably the worst place to be putting new patient exams and complex problem-solving appointments is kind of mid-afternoon and after that 3 o'clock kind of dip. And that those are actually best either immediately after lunch or kind of mid-morning. But everyone's different in the same way that, we've got our owls and our locks, and those that like a late night and those that like an early night, and where their energy levels are at within the day. There are some people that thrive on just, hunkering down to a 10-hour day and a late night. And there's some of us that would just be, actually working every day, but shorter hours would be more me. So again, just something else to think about, and where is, is the location of your job good? Do you enjoy your commute? Do you have a commute? Is the geographic location of work, is it somewhere that you can get out and have a walk easily, or are you kind of in the basement of a massive office block and you never see the light of day? Is the equipment good enough to be doing the standard of work that you want to be doing? Is it a hindrance because it's always breaking and this and the other? Is it just so much all around location? And that's the kind of thing that within that job crafting is trying to be aware of, is kind of your who's, your what's, your when's, your where's, and how can I improve on those or make them kind of maximize them, I guess, in terms of enjoyment at work. So my advice to those that are not enjoying dentistry is look for the bits you do enjoy. I'm assuming that you didn't go into dentistry anticipating you were going to hate it, because otherwise why would you? But that, I guess, could be a whole different podcast. It's trying to find the things that, even if it's going back as far as dental school and saying, what did I enjoy then and how do I get that back now? Excuse me. But it's not it's not beyond hope. There's no easy answer. There's no kind of, every job we don't like, we have to leave. Some jobs do just need working on, just like any kind of relationship, because of your relationships with the people at work, relationships with your patients, and some that unfortunately we can have the best intentions and try all of those things but just never quite fit the bill. And there's no shame in leaving those jobs and looking for one that works differently. We're a funny breed of us dentists and our dental teams, and you will find a mixture of all sorts and everything out there, and there will be a team and a place that suits you and might suit you better than where you are right now. So don't be closed down to those options, and don't be in a rush to jump around looking for them. Network, communicate, talk to friends, and you will get a feel for kind of how these things go. So as I say, I'm somewhere between. I don't hate my job. I don't love my job. I'm in dentistry for the long term. Although the right-winning lotto ticket, and I might stay home. Anyway, all right. Take care of yourselves. As always, I'll be on Twitter and Facebook. So say hi if you want. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time.